Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a review as well as a demo of the brand new Ordinary concealer. So the Ordinary, for those of you that don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know, you probably do know, but for argument's sake, let's say you don't. The Ordinary is actually a skincare brand. They're an affordable skincare brand, and they're definitely the trailblazers of affordable and good, decent working skincare. And ever since they hit the market and became incredibly popular, everyone pretty much followed. Anyway, so in the past they have come up with a foundation. Not gonna lie, I do not like either of their foundations. That would be the Serum Foundation as well as the Coverage Foundation. You've never seen a review on my channel because I firstly forgot to do it and I just despised it, okay? I just really did not like. I know there's so many people that love the foundations. I'm just not one of them at all. And the reason being that both of them I found got really oily on me very quickly, broke down very fast, and just did not perform the way that I wanted them to. And even though they've got a very large shade range, I also found that there was no exact match for me. I remember I had to mix the shades 2.0 YG as well as 2.1 Y, and that was the only way I was able to come up with a decent enough match for myself. Now, I bought mine from Beauty Bay, and you're gonna laugh. All right, don't laugh. I can be a cheapskate. We can all be a cheapskate when necessary. Every penny counts at the end of the day. So these retail at £4.90, which is obviously affordable and the kind of price that we expected to pay for the Ordinary. But for some reason, on the day of launch, Beauty Bay put them as £4.75. And now they're £4.90, but that 15 pence made all the difference in terms of which brand I actually bought it from. So their mistake was my gain, kind of. Don't really know what I can do with that 45 pence that I saved, but hey ho. So anyway, so first off, they are quite tiny. They're 8mm, but that's a pretty decent size, I would say, in comparison to many other concealers that are on the market, especially because, for example, you can buy one which is 5mm and they will charge you £25. So for 8mm and £4.90, excellent value for money. Now, in terms of the packaging itself, it just comes in a standard black cardboard box, the classic style of the Ordinary's packaging. And in terms of the actual concealer itself, it comes in a plastic squeezy tube, very easy to use with a nozzle on the end where you can just squeeze out the product. And then obviously once you have squeezed as much as you can squeeze, you can then cut it in half and then you can eke out any last little bits of product that are lurking around. Excuse me, I'm going to keep straightening my bow tie because that's what you do, right? When you're wearing a bow tie, you always got to go like that and make that face as well. Anyway, so the actual nozzle itself, I'm not a big fan of, I'll be honest with you. I prefer doe foot applicators purely because you can control the amount that comes out a lot better. Whereas with this one, you can't. You have to actually use your fingers or a brush, but obviously it's completely up to you. It's definitely a lot more hygienic this way than using a doe foot applicator because you don't keep kind of putting it in and out after putting it on your face, or if you're a makeup artist, obviously applying it to your client's face. This way it makes it a little bit more hygienic, but if you're like me and you wanted a doe foot applicator, diddums, it didn't happen. Now, just to let you guys know, I actually bought 3 shades. I found the swatches that the Ordinary had done were absolutely terrible. These concealers are a little bit lighter than the foundation, so in that respect, hopefully it should be able to help you. Now, I bought the shades 1.2, which is under the light category. It actually says on the box, the description. So 1.2 YG. YG stands for yellow golden, which is exactly what I am. Yellow undertones with gold highlights. Now I got the shade 2.0 YG, which is described as light medium. Yellow undertones with gold highlights. That is me. And then lastly, 2.1 Y, which is under the medium category and is described as medium with yellow undertones. Now, as I said, because of the fact that previously in the foundation I was 2.0 YG and 2.1 Y, I forgot. It's so difficult. I wish they would just come up with names like beige. You know, it's a 2.1, 2.56, 2. Anyway, because of the fact that I bought those 2 foundations, I had to mix them. That's the reason why I bought the concealers in both those shades. And the reason I bought 1.2 was because in terms of my undertone, that was the next warm shade that was a little bit lighter. I'm just going to read to you what the claims are off of their website and how they describe this concealer, and I'll let you know whether or not I agree or disagree with them. So it is a high spreadability suspension foundation system that offers very high coverage with real skin finish. Packaged with a thin nozzle applicator for precise and easy application, this formula allows high pigments to look natural on the skin and resists collecting in fine lines. Available in 36 shades. The shades are divided into 4 categories. 1 for lighter tones, 2 for medium tones, 3 for dark deep tones, and 4 for deeper tones. Each category is then classified further by a second digit from 0 to 4 to indicate depth within each category. Finally, a letter is added to the shade code to identify the undertone. P is for pink, R is for red and indicates cool undertones, N indicates a neutral tone, and Y for yellow indicates a warm undertone. Obviously they've left out the fact that they've added G into some of them, which is yellow golden. If you've got a skin tone like myself, which has got a lot of yellow in it, yellow golden may actually be better for you than yellow, because I've noticed that they aren't necessarily as yellowy. It says apply to imperfections, blemishes, or the under eye area. Blend using your fingertips or a brush, or in my case, a beauty blender. So it says that it is alcohol free, oil free, nut free, vegan, gluten free, and cruelty free. It has, however, got water and silicone in it. Now, what I found was, firstly, the shade that worked perfectly as my under eye to brighten my under eye area was the middle shade, which was 2.0 YG, which is yellow undertones with golden highlights. Now, I also found that even though I had the shade 2.1 Y and it was a little bit dark for me to use under my eyes, it worked absolutely perfectly as a spot concealer, a blemish concealer on my face. And then I used the darker concealer on my face to cover certain areas where I've got a little bit more blemishes. I have a spot which is healing near my lip. I've got this scar on my face here, which was a cyst that was removed from my face a couple of years ago. And then I also tried to cover my beauty spot. I wasn't that successful. I don't think I put enough on. But either way, I think this concealer is excellent. I am very, very happy with it. I had low expectations, not gonna lie, purely based on the fact that I hated the foundation so much and how oily and greasy it was. But I have not tried the foundation ever since it was released. Maybe they have done a sneaky move and reformulated it since then, because it has been a good couple of years, because the quality of this is far superior to the foundation. This is full coverage. It's creamy. It blends beautifully and seamlessly. One thing that this actually reminds me a lot of is the It Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. It's got very similar kind of creamy-ish, almost oily but not oily consistency. I would say the It Cosmetics one is a little bit more oilier, whereas this one not so much, but very similar in texture. So this is obviously supposed to be marketed as high coverage, and I would definitely say that it is. Again, it depends on how much you apply. If I'd applied a lot more to my face, it would be a lot more full coverage. But also bear in mind, which you obviously wouldn't know, I'm wearing a medium coverage foundation. I'm not wearing a full coverage one, and I didn't want it to be obvious that in one area I had a lot more pigmentation and coverage than the rest of my face, which is why I only applied a little bit. But personally, I can just see the lump where the spot is, but I can't actually see any kind of redness or purple kind of discoloration as it starts to heal. So I would definitely agree that this is a very high coverage concealer, and so many of you will absolutely love it. If you want to go in for a more sheerer application, obviously you just apply a little bit and blend that out. If you want a more coverage, then you apply more. It's common sense. The one thing that I would say about this concealer is you definitely have to make sure that you set it. If you don't set it, I don't care what they say about how it resists collecting in the fine lines. Of course it does. It's a creamy product, and it's a slightly oily creamy product. So as soon as I applied it to my under eyes, I had to make sure that I blended it out quite quickly before it decided to settle. The good thing about this is because it has that kind of creamy texture, it doesn't start to dry as fast, so you can kind of take your time. I also like the fact that I did not have to, as I normally do with a lot of other concealers and foundations, is use my foundation brush to blend between the two so that there is a seamless blend. Obviously I used a beauty blender to blend mine out, but I found that the transition between the concealer and the foundation was perfect. I did not have to manipulate much at all, and on that basis I'm very, very happy with this. I find that it gives full coverage, it lasts forever, it does not crease, it does not move, it does not get patchy, it does not make my under eye area look aged at all. It's smooth and it feels velvety soft. Bear in mind, like I said, I have set it with the Laura Mercier setting powder, and that's what I also used to set my face after applying the concealer, to make sure that that had set as well as my foundation. I tested this out for 18 hours. I went to work, I was busy at home. I didn't actually get to sleep until nearly 2 o'clock last night. I had it on my face for a really long time. It is freezing cold in the UK at the moment. That means that everywhere has the heating on full blast, and when that happens to me, I've got normal to combination skin. I find that I can get oily quite quickly as my skin starts to heat up. This did not move at all. This did not budge at all. When it was that time of night or early morning when I was actually going to remove it, it looked fresh, as if I had only just applied it. It looked exactly the same as it had done first thing in the morning before I went to work. This gets a 10 out of 10 from me. I think it's an excellent concealer. It's affordable. It comes in a massive range of shades, and I think so many of you will absolutely love this. I like the fact that The Ordinary have kind of taken their time between releasing their foundation and their concealer, and kind of learned with the way to work when it comes to skincare brands releasing makeup. It says that it provides a real skin finish, 100%. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't feel heavy. You can barely detect it even being there. It says that the formula allows high pigments to look natural on the skin. Definitely. Despite the fact that it is so full coverage, it still looks incredibly skin-like and very natural. It says on their Instagram page that 21 shades within the range correspond directly to the shades offered within our range of serum and coverage foundations, alongside an additional 15 shades which will be available in serum and coverage foundations later this year. So bear in mind, if you are looking for a corresponding shade and you can't find it, it could be that it's one that hasn't been released. But as I've already said, as somebody who has got both of these, not the lighter one, I would definitely say that they show up a little bit lighter. Otherwise, if that was the case and they were exactly the same, I would have had to mix the two again, which I have not had to do this time at all. Normally the shade 2.1Y in the foundation is too dark for me, but in this instance it matched my skin tone perfectly and blended into my foundation. And normally the shade 2.0YG is way too light for me in terms of foundation, but in this respect it worked beautifully as a brightening under eye concealer. But again, I'm sure you guys can see yourselves that it's not stark, too obvious, and I don't have that white thing that a lot of people do. I hate that. I think it looks awful and looks really fake. But in this respect, I would definitely say that it's a lot more natural and looks lovely. So for those of you that love your full coverage concealers, you will definitely love this. I think it's lovely. I think it's excellent. I think it's comfortable and easy to wear. And yeah, you can blend it with your fingers, but please don't, because there's always one area that will be kind of thicker than another area. And I would definitely say that when you use a brush, or in particular a beauty blender like I have done, you get a much more even coverage on the skin, and therefore it looks a lot more natural, rather than going in with a brush sometimes can make it a little bit too thick under the eyes and it can pull at the under eye area. And if you go in with your finger, there is again always the chance that you will go in with too much of the product and then overload that area or start to drag it down on the rest of your face. If you want to apply to your under eyes, a tiny little blob is literally enough. So even though this is 8mm, I would definitely say this is something that will probably last you a pretty decent amount of time. Right, so that's it for my review of the brand new Ordinary concealers. Like, comment, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell that I'm supposed to tell you about, that I always forget, so you know about any notifications of uploads to my channel. And if you've got any comments or questions, or want to know something that I may have missed out about this concealer, feel free to ask me below and I'll get back to you when I can. On that note, I will love you guys and leave you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.